please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
Hi there, good afternoon. This is Your Stocks. I'm Mangla Malu. With me is Ekta Batra. This is the show where we answer all your stock-related queries. But let's get you a check on the markets first up. Looking good for the markets, actually. You know, briefly we saw that dip into the red, and now that has been bought into. We're still between that 10,750 to 10,800 range for the Nifty, very narrow in today's trading session. And as we speak, L&T, that one should come up for you. That one's moved to the high point of the day. Along with that, we have TCS, which is aiding the Nifty. And two stocks which perhaps tell you the story of the day. We have Tata Motors sitting with a cut of almost 5% at the low point of the day. On the other hand, we have Maruti, which has now moved to the high point of the day. So domestic themes being bought into Ekta.
Yes, absolutely. Hi, Manglam. Afternoon. Well, for the Nifty, it's absolutely range bound, you'd have to say. So we're just about at around 10,786 odd. So let's see whether we manage to further gains. We also have expiry this week, so that'll be an important cue to work with. In terms of specific stocks, it is Tata Motors, which is actually seeing the maximum amount of pressure this afternoon. So that stock is down close to around 5% odd as we speak. And from the broader markets, a lot of stocks which are managing to actually buck the trend as compared to the mid-cap index, which is flat, includes something like an InfoEdge, which is up around 6% odd, and even something like an Idea, which is bouncing back up around 3.3%, and Marico, which is up around 3% odd as well. Let's take you through the top stories we're tracking this afternoon, and we'll get talking about all of the specific stocks and news as well. Markets recover sharply from the midday dip. The Sensex and the Nifty outperform the mid-caps. Nifty Bank lags the index in performance.
Prime Minister Modi sells the India story at the third annual meeting of the AIIB in Mumbai, says India's macroeconomic fundamentals are strong and the fiscal situation fully in control. Adds that India is a very low-risk political economy for foreigners.
Cement and paint stocks gain. Goa GST Council member Movin Godino tells CNBC TV18 that they will discuss lowering of GST rate on cement, paints and other items in the upcoming GST meet.
In stocks and news, InfoEdge surges over 5% on the news that it will invest around 300 crores in policy Bazaar, while Aurobindo Pharma also in focus after it gets an approval for the anti-infection injection ertapenem.
And all eyes on New Delhi as 11 PSU banks under prompt corrective action or PCA are set to meet the Parliamentary Standing Committee today. Okay, so that's all of the news that we're tracking, but on to a big CNBC TV18 exclusive now. Two private banks are keen on buying a strategic stake in IDBI Bank, but the government is not keen to sell. The government feels current valuations for IDBI Bank is not reflective of its inherent value. Sapna Das, who's been tracking the story and is breaking it now, joins in to give us more. Sapna, go ahead.
Hi. So basically, the word, at least from the government corridors, is very clear on the prospective LIC IDBI Bank deal. And I'm saying LIC because here the stance is extremely clear. Basically, if you look at the balance sheet of IDBI Bank and the kind of valuation that we're talking about, so at the current juncture, probably selling it to a private investor, may not help on that front. In fact, what we understand is that probably there could be vested interests there out in the market who would like to pick up the stock cheap, because the deal talk is now in the public domain. In terms of certain numbers, if we talk about, you have mentioned two private players, which is very much confirmed. But government is not at all comfortable with that proposition for the reasons I've mentioned. Running very quickly through some numbers. If you look at the non-core assets of the bank, they're around 7,000 odd crores. Real estate worth 7,000 odd crores. A total market cap of around 24,000 crores. So, at this level, their fear is that, if a private investor comes in, probably these valuations will not work out well. The stake sale will be cheap. Apart from this, a very clear indication coming that, basically IDBI Bank, once the deal goes through, will function as a subsidiary of LIC. Just like, say, the LIC Housing Finance or other subsidiaries, it will have a proper professionally run board and a board-run entity, basically. Apart from this, we also understand that, the acquisition mode. So what we have understood till now is that, probably LIC is going to take a strategic stake in IDBI Bank. Probably disinvestment, probably may not be on the cards immediately. The two options, basically, IDBI Bank can issue preference, fresh equity preference shares to LIC. Thereby, the government shareholding will get diluted, but not divested. The divestment can happen at a later stage once the valuations improve. And this could be a huge upside for LIC as well. You see, here in the power corridors, it's very clear that there are going to be very clear synergies. If LIC comes in as a strategic investor, they have the perfect balance sheet. 28 lakh crore is the size of the balance sheet, very deep pockets, straight intentions. Also, if you look at the private insurers, I mean, basically they have, or rather the public, other banks, they're already doing the bank assurance model. So, in case this deal goes through, LIC also gets the advantage of coming in through bank assurance, using the IDBI Bank as a subsidiary. So there are lots of things which are on the table right now. We have to wait for this deal to actually go through. Not too much of clarity as of now in terms of what's going to happen to the regulatory approvals, but this is where the position stands now.
Right, Sapna, as you speak, the street is perhaps taking note of that. An IDBI Bank has slipped to the low point of the day. The intraday chart should tell you that. But in the meanwhile, just to reconfirm, the reason why the government does not want to sell it to private parties is because of valuation, is it?
Yeah, what they're saying very clearly is that, at this juncture, basically, the inherent value, may get diluted if a private investor comes in. The line over here is extremely clear. And I suppose this is how it's going to pan out.
Okay. All right, Sapna. Thanks very much for that. So definitely a developing story with a lot of propositions on its table for IDBI Bank. But like you can see, the stock is down around 4.6%. Let's see where it currently lands up at around 55 rupees. But let's shift focus now. InfoEdge has announced that they will invest in ET Shares, which is basically the parent company of Policy Bazaar. Yashish Dahiya, the co-founder and CEO of Policy Bazaar, now joins in on the phone line to discuss this fresh round of funding that they've received from SoftBank as well as InfoEdge. Yashish, hi, thanks very much for joining in. If you can just take us through the details of this fresh round of funding that you've received from SoftBank. How much will InfoEdge eventually hold net in Policy Bazaar? And what is the funding going to be used for?
So the primary reason for raising this particular round was to get SoftBank on board. We already had capital, in the sense there was about $120 million of capital in the bank before we raised this round, and now that kind of goes up to about $330 million in the bank. Now, the reason to do this was, as I said, to get SoftBank on board. Now, SoftBank had to invest a minimum of $150 million and take a certain amount of share in the company. And InfoEdge helped come along and make sure that the deal could be consummated. Overall, InfoEdge will be investing $61 million. That is part primary, part secondary. I don't know the exact split between the two. But InfoEdge, as I know it, is investing about $61 million. I think InfoEdge, there'll be 4 large shareholders that we have at the end of this, which would be SoftBank, Temasek, Tiger Global, and InfoEdge.
Okay.
So these 4 would be almost, equal in size, between 15 to 25% each.
Okay, so that's exactly what I wanted to know. So 15 to 20% each in terms of all of these 4 investors. How much do the promoters hold now in the company?
So the promoters and management would be about 20%. But we are one of those unique companies where promoters have less than management. So management would hold almost 55% of that promoter and management shareholding.
All right. Yashish, just a couple of questions from my end. We had the management of InfoEdge join us today, and they said consolidated revenues of Policy Bazaar last year were close to around 300 crores. I was reading some reports, and you target about 80% CAGR over the next 3 years. So does that mean that your revenues are likely to be around that 1,800 to 2,000 crore mark in the next 3 years? Is that what you're targeting?
So our last year revenues were 380 something crores. on a consolidated basis.
All right.
And we do not usually put out targets for 3 years, etc. Now that 80% CAGR is not on the revenue terms, it is actually in customer terms.
Okay.
So I think the number we are targeting is 10 million customers, which we are very well on track to achieve by 2020.
So what does this mean in terms of your revenues and your burn rate?
Revenue. So see, it's a profitable company. So we've got 3 businesses, right? There's Policy Bazaar, there is Paisa Bazaar, and there's this new healthcare venture, right?
Right.
Policy Bazaar till date has consumed $35 million.
All right.
Okay.
It's a profitable business, which last year put out a profit of about 30 crores. This year the profit should be almost 100 crores.
Oh.
That's Policy Bazaar.
Okay.
Okay, so there are three different businesses, right? And we have to start seeing them differently. Paisa Bazaar we had losses of about 40 crores last year. Those losses will probably go to about 80 to 100 crores this year.
Okay.
Right? And the healthcare venture, and Paisa Bazaar till date has used about, including the next year, will have used about $15 million. Obviously, Policy Bazaar crossed the hump with $35 million, and since then it's been putting money back into the system, right?
Sure.
So Paisa Bazaar would have consumed about $20 million by the end of next year. $20 to $22 million.
So now that you have SoftBank, and the last investment that SoftBank made was, bought over by Walmart, is there any such opportunity going forward? Maybe.
No, not at all, not at all. That is exactly what I was going to say.
Okay.
What we are planning to do is in the healthcare business, invest $100 million in the next 2 years.
Okay. Yashish, just, are you looking for further funding, or how well capitalized are you for Policy Bazaar, at least in the foreseeable future? How many years
I think
more?
we are in a fairly well capitalized situation. As I said, we are a profitable company overall, but we are going to invest in the healthcare area, which over the next few years will again cause losses.
Okay.
Because it's a new venture, it's a fairly aggressive venture. We'll have to visit our capitalization maybe another 18 months down the line. I just wanted to clarify this, more than the capital, we are very, very keen on the investors. So there would still be 1 or 2 investors we would still go after.
Okay. So Yashish,
try to get them on board.
yeah, so that was actually my next question. Specific to InfoEdge, what kind of strategic relationship would you look at with them?
InfoEdge, our relationship is limited to the team. It is not a company relationship.
Okay.
However that sounds, my relationship with InfoEdge is very special, and that is because of the management team there. That includes Sanjeev, that includes Hitesh, that includes now Chintan and Kitty.
Sure.
But it has nothing to do with the InfoEdge business per se. So we have absolutely zero strategic collaboration between InfoEdge and us, and I'm saying that in a positive way.
Right.
On any operational front whatsoever. So they would not even buy their own insurance from us.
All right, Yashish. We're going to leave it on that note, and congratulations on the funding. But so that's Policy Bazaar, where 4 big investors, and they all own around 15 to 20% in terms of shareholding, and that includes InfoEdge.
Absolutely.
I think we can take a break now, but we're going to get back to answering all of your stock queries once we're back. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Well, let's get talking in terms of a couple of queries now. Joining us this afternoon, we have Ashu Madan on the fundamentals and Rajat Bose to answer all of your technical questions. Afternoon, gentlemen. Well, let's get going in terms of the first question that we have. Parag calls us from Nasik with a query. He has investments in Gitanjali Gems. Hi, Parag.
Yes, madam.
Hi, go ahead.
हाँ सर, मेरे पास गीतांजलि जेम्स के शेयर्स पड़े 1200 85 रुपीज के इसके
आप
तो मैं जानना था सर इसका क्या होगा सर आगे, इसका गीतांजलि जेम्स का क्या होने वाला है आगे.
Okay. Ashu, I'm not even going to ask Parag how long he can hold Gitanjali Gems for, because I think everybody knows the answer. But what do you think he should probably do after he takes that hit? If he, say, has more money to invest, what kind of stocks do you think he should probably look at, considering that there's this dichotomy of valuations which is emerging within the markets now? Ashu, and if you could reply in Hindi.
Okay. Okay, Hindi. See, the question which you have asked, जो आपने question पूछा, I think इसका answer, I mean, it is unfortunate. ये बहुत अनफॉर्चुनेट चीज़ है जिस तरह से लोगों का लॉस हुआ है गीतांजलि जैसे स्टॉक के अंदर, एंड इसका आंसर कोई भी नहीं दे सकता, एटलीस्ट गीतांजलि से तो कुछ भी नहीं हो सकता. सो अब इसकी कोई ऐसी वैल्यूएशन भी नहीं रही है कि 3-4 रुपए में क्या बेचेंगे और उसमें क्या वापस मिलेगा किसी को. सो आई थिंक एक पेपर समझ के रख लेना चाहिए कि कभी अगर कोई लॉटरी लग गई तो लग गई, बट अदर देन दैट मुझे ऐसा कुछ फ्यूचर गीतांजलि में नहीं दिखता. सी एज ऑफ नाउ जो मैं काफ़ी टाइम से लास्ट 2 महीने से बोल रहा हूँ, 2018 is a very tough market as far as stock specific is concerned. Lot of stocks will be under pressure. 2018 एक difficult year है stocks के लिए और 3-4 महीने निकल चुके हैं और अगले 4-5-6 months में मुझे नहीं लगता कि stocks में कोई बहुत ज़्यादा फेवरेबल मूवमेंट होगी. सो इसलिए अगर आप लास्ट 2 मंथ का भी मूवमेंट देखें, द मार्केट इज डिफरेंट. आई मीन इफ यू टॉक अबाउट इंडेक्स इज डिफरेंट एंड स्टॉक स्पेसिफिक इज डिफरेंट. निफ्टी बढ़ता है, बैंक निफ्टी बढ़ता है, लेकिन अगर इंडिविजुअल पोर्टफोलियोज आप देखें स्टॉक के, तो स्टॉक्स आर नॉट गोइंग एनीवेयर. सो देयर आर वेरी फ्यू रिकमेंडेशन अदर देन कंज्यूमर ड्यूरेबल्स और एफएमसीजी. आई थिंक यही 2 सेक्टर हैं. अगर स्टॉक्स कंपल्सरीली लेने हैं तो कंज्यूमर ड्यूरेबल या एफएमसीजी में रहना चाहिए. फार्मा भी एक बार एक मूव आया है, लेकिन अगर वापस डिप लेता है, जो कि मुझे लगता है वापस डिप लेगा, फार्मा में मुझे लगता है कि एक बॉटम बन गया है. यही 2-3 सेक्टर के अलावा अभी कोई ऐसा सेक्टर स्ट्रांगली रेकमेंड नहीं है. मुझे लगता है कि कोई जल्दबाजी नहीं करनी चाहिए स्टॉक्स लेने में. एम्पल अपॉर्चुनिटी आएंगी अगले 3 से 4 महीने में एट लोअर लेवल्स स्टॉक्स लेने के लिए.
ऑल राइट, तो यही आपके लिए राय है कि इस स्टॉक को अब आप कुछ नहीं कर सकते हो और कुछ इन्वेस्ट करना है. पराग जी, तो बाय कंज्यूमर ड्यूरेबल्स. वोल्टास इज एट द हाई पॉइंट ऑफ द डे. कंज्यूमर स्टॉक्स, in fact we have United Spirits which has moved to the high point of the day, and mid cap IT is doing fairly well as well. Pharmaceutical में भी आप थोड़ा इन्वेस्ट कर सकते हो इस साल. With that, let's move on to the next one. We have Vikas Jain writing to us from Pune. Holds about 500 shares of Jindal SAW at 103 rupees for the last 3 months. Wants to know whether to hold or sell. Rajat, the long-term prospects of Jindal SAW on the charts, how do they look?
So far as I know, that there have been some problem on duty tariffs. I mean, that US has imposed, and after that this downtrend has actually got accelerated. If you look at the charts of Jindal SAW, it is actually hitting lower highs and lower lows. Classic downtrend situation on technical charts with the long-term, medium-term moving averages are in a dead cross, in the sense that the medium-term moving average is actually beating, piercing the 200-day moving average from above, and that signals that further downside could be there. So my suggestion is that if he were to stay invested here, beware that if it were to break 80, it could first test 74 and then the next stop would be 60. So it's up to him whether he should continue. If I were in his shoes, I would have definitely got out at the first opportunity. That means while I'm listening, I would have placed the order that I'm actually getting out. Even if there were to be a bounce, that bounce is not actually worth waiting for. So it could actually fall even further.
Okay, all right. So that's the view coming in on Jindal SAW. We need to take a break now, but more stocks on the other side. Stay tuned.
Well, the stock that's gaining right now is United Spirits at the high point of the day. Remember, they've announced an acquisition of 26% stake in HibBar, an e-commerce company that enables payment of beverage. So that stock at the high point of the day. Another stock that's gaining is Voltas, and we have a CNBC TV18 exclusive news on that. Sources tell CNBC TV18 that the Tata Group is exploring options to divest up to 9% stake in Voltas. Kritika Saxena joins in with more details. Kritika?
Well, over the last 12 months, Tata Group has been doing 2 specific things. One is to reduce cross-holding and simplify the holding structure across group companies. And 2 is to increase cash flow from a group company level and from a group and an operating level. So what we understand is that there are many micro things that the group is looking at doing, and one of them is identifying individual group companies. So at this point in time, we understand that Tata Group may look at divesting some portion of its stake in Voltas, entirely in line with their plans to reduce cross-holding structure. So all in all, we understand from sources that from the 26.6% that Tata Sons has in its holding, Tata Group may sell about 4 to 5%. They also have about 0.58% stake of Evart Investment, which is one of the investment arms. They may exit that completely. Now, Tata Investment Corporation has about 3.01%. There's a very tiny portion of Tata Power stake, that is about 0.07%. But all of it together is going to come up to almost 8.5% odd stake, and that entire stake is likely to be sold off. Now, they're looking at various routes. So they haven't finalized the routes yet, but I understand that an OFS is one of the options that they may consider, and that could also happen in parts. It may not happen in one go. It's still in the works. We may see a couple of quarters for this to actually go through. But yes, this is in line with their plan to increase cash flow as well, not just reduce the cross-holding. And we understand from our sources that they may look at investing the amount that they get from Voltas into the defense and aerospace business, where according to our sources, they are planning a significant investment. When we did contact Tata Group, they said that they did not want to comment on market speculation.
Okay, all right, Kritika, thanks very much for that. Just want to point out IDBI Bank, low point of the day, and MT Educare also, which is down around 6%. So do watch out for the mid-cap index. Seems like it's all about stock-specific action. But that's all the time that we have on the show. Do remember to log on to CNBC TV18.com and mail us your queries. We are going to address them with our experts. Stay tuned. Closing bell will take all the action forward.